the spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhism. The world's abuzz over his reincarnation. A showdown with Beijing looms large. Will China hijack the process? Hello and welcome to Explained by NewsX. Today, we take a look at the Dalai Lama's succession plan. On 2nd July, the 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso, declared that the Gaden Phodrang Trust, his personal trust, will choose his successor. This move carries significant geopolitical implications as it defies China's claim to control the process. The Tibetan Buddhist community has long feared that the holy appointment process would be corrupted by the CCP. To understand where exactly this fear stems from, we take a look back at history. Tenzin Gyatso is the 14th Dalai Lama. He was born into a farming family in 1935 in what was then northeastern Tibet. He was recognized at the age of 2 as the reincarnation of the 13th Dalai Lama and consequently began monastic training and Buddhist philosophical studies. However, amid this, Chinese troops entered and annexed Tibet in 1950. Thus, at a tender age of 15, the Dalai Lama became Tibet's political leader. His responsibility was guiding the Tibetan people through the crisis. But things soon took a turn for the worst. In 1959, a Tibetan uprising was met with brutal repression by the CCP. The Dalai Lama escaped Chinese forces and fled to India with many of his followers. He has never returned to Tibet since. Living in exile in Dharamshala, the Dalai Lama has long raised questions about the future of Tibetan Buddhism's highest office, especially in the face of Chinese interference. This concern is primarily due to Beijing's strategy of appointing its own religious figures. Yes, China already has a blueprint for inserting itself into Tibetan Buddhist successions. When the 10th Panchen Lama, Tibet's second highest spiritual figure, died in 1989, the Dalai Lama named a 5-year-old son of a herder as the successor. However, the boy and his family were kidnapped by China, and the boy, who has not been seen since, was replaced with a monk chosen by Beijing. This move has been rejected by the Tibetan community at large. But why is the Chinese Communist Party, an avowed atheist organization, interfering in Tibetan Buddhist religious practices? Well, by seeking to control Tibetan Buddhism's leadership, China hopes it can all but erase the Dalai Lama's influence in Tibet and any challenges to the party's rule. All of this brings us to the core question: how will the Dalai Lama's succession take place? Now, traditionally, the search for a Dalai Lama's reincarnation begins only upon the incumbent's death. Tibetan Buddhist leaders say that they follow ancient customs of passing mystical visions, clues left by the previous Dalai Lama, as well as astrology to help narrow down their search. Candidates are then tested to see if they show any traits that would be deemed especially holy. The Dalai Lama has hinted that he might upend established practices for his succession. This is a part of an apparent strategy to throw off the Chinese government and avoid a leadership vacuum that Beijing can exploit, since it seeks to control Tibetan Buddhism. The Dalai Lama has offered hints that his successor will be born in a free country. This indicates that the next Dalai Lama could come from among the Tibetan exiles, who number about 140,000. Now, what's interesting is that about half of them reside in India. The Dalai Lama has also said that his successor could be an adult and not necessarily a man. Well, this has not gone down well with China. The Chinese government is trying to resurrect a golden urn system. It is attempting to use relics once employed by the Manchu emperors of the Qing dynasty to anoint Tibetan lamas in order to further control successions. Beijing has said that after a reincarnated Lama is selected using the urn, the choice must be approved by the Chinese government. That's not all. China has gone so far as warning India against interfering in the process. Meanwhile, the government of India has emphasized that it does not take any position or speak on matters concerning beliefs and practices of faith and religion. India has given a pointed message. The Ministry of External Affairs has further stressed that India has always upheld freedom of religion for all and will continue to do so. This brings us to the end of this particular episode. Stay tuned for more on NewsX.